everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I'm glad that you could be with both of us today. Alongside, I've got Jan with me.
Hey,
And
Steve. Hey, everybody.
hey, Jan. So Jan, from what I understand, from what we were discussing before we came on, you got some things you'd like to share.
Well, it's not like the most earth shattering stuff that I have to say. And that's the beauty part of what I have to say. I mean, without getting into great detail for reasons, thanks to the folks upstairs, if you will, terrible, tragic things have occurred, and we've all heard about it on the news these last few days.
Hmm.
Mind you, we're only like about a week or so into the brand new year. It just started off like with just such negative information. But this is real life, and unfortunately, negative information exists. But you know what I was thinking, Steve? Especially, us folks that, we're on tight budgets and all this and all that. We have a resource under our fingertips, literally, quite literally, on this very platform, for example. And I don't know or don't believe, I hope to believe it, that I don't think enough people take better advantage of it. You want to know what that is, Steve?
What's that?
Music.
Oh, yeah. I know this. I mean, even though I come on here and discuss, and talk about what I or we normally talk about, the groceries and the recipes whenever I put one up. The normal cheap and frugal, everyday living type stuff. But no, my main forte or my main topic of discussion um, is always going to be music because I'm pretty well versed at it, and I haven't really done a whole lot of music videos on here. Um, Basically, even though my channel's random, I don't know how it would be accepted. So I'm trying it out and I'm hoping, that the subscribers will like it because I don't know of anybody that doesn't like music.
That's right, Steve. And it's just to me, when you tap on, like, especially a favorite song, like, it brings you maybe back to a better time mentally, in a better place. It just makes you want to move around or exercise or de-stress, or just even like calm down and just like listen to the stuff. That's the beauty part of music. And please forgive my bird clock, as usual, as per
Hmm.
usual, the bird clock, but that's okay.
Hmm.
People use that bird clock.
Yeah.
But you know what, Steve? There's something that I think the folks are not really aware of, the kind of music that you may like from a time from a long time ago. Tell me I'm right. You like music from yesteryear, if I'm not mistaken.
I do. First off, um, you supposedly, they say you've got country music out these days. My definition of country music from what I'm used to hearing and growing up with my dad having all bunch of different artists back when country was real country, like Merle Haggard, Charlie Pride, Charlie Rich,
Wow.
Tammy Wynette, Loretta Lynn, Buck Owens. Back when country was country, Barbara Mandrell, the Oak Ridge Boys, Alabama, to give you an idea, the
Yeah.
older stuff, Tanya Tucker. But not just that. I can't even listen to top 40 music anymore. I can't even begin to tell you the last time I even cared for top 40 music. Probably sometime in the early 90s, about the time that the grunge music was coming into play. And I can only get into about a couple of those songs from Nirvana. Smells Like Teen Spirit and Come As You Are. That's about the only two that I could ever really get into.
Yeah.
But it's funny though, if you think back to the 1960s, maybe even part of the 70s, you had a form of music called garage rock. Now,
Love.
okay, now garage rock I can accept, even though
Yes.
that is a even though grunge is like a newer generation or a counterpart of that. Grunge I can accept. Punk rock I can accept. But I never could grasp the liking for grunge. But the other stuff, some alternative I could deal with. But but no, my music, early 90s, I love the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s. I do like the 40s and the 30s as well. Even before that, I have been known to like some 20s stuff.
Right.
But
Wow.
as much as I like the 50s decade, not just the music, the movies, the way the people's demeanor was and how much they cared.
Yeah.
The 60s was similar as well. Um, my favorite period of music time, even though I always said it was 50s music refined, basically, is the music of the early 1960s. Most people, when they think of 1960s music, they're thinking more toward the Beatles, the Monkees, the Rolling Stones. Well, you did have that in the early 60s a little bit too, and so did the Beatles. But, Paul Revere and the Raiders, people are thinking more middle, latter 60s rather than the earlier end. Almost
Right.
like you said one time, if I remember you saying correctly, that the early 60s is that period of time that people tend to overlook.
Yes, I consider it like, excuse me, I'm sorry. I consider it like I don't know why, like it was just slathered over. I know we had a lot of huge political issues for obvious, reasons. 1963, if you recall what I mean. And then of
Yeah.
course the British invasion, with the Beatles, and it seemed to like take over and overshadow a lot of stuff. And I agree with you. I think that there are a lot of things that maybe more music that maybe could have had more airplay from the DJs. It's not like today. If you have a message or a music or whatever you want to do, just go online and, make something of yourself from it. People didn't have that option. People relied heavily, bands relied heavily, and publishers of music on the disc jockeys of the area. There were
Mhm.
some tunes that were highly popular, for example, Steve, on the West Coast that I never heard of. And then the first time I heard of it, one of them was that song Go Back by Krabby Appleton.
Abby
It was
Hamilton,
a
yeah.
huge hit. That was an old song, was a huge hit. It was written in the late 60s and performed in like 70. For anybody that's interested in checking it out, it was a great song. Trust me on that one. And the idea being, I never heard of it here in New York City, and I listened and followed music constantly, as you know, because you and I met because of music. But make a long story short, on the West Coast was totally huge hit. On the East Coast, it didn't get any airplay. The DJs on the East Coast for some reason didn't play that tune. They kept
Mhm.
sticking with the Beatles, the Beatles, the Beatles, the Beatles, everything. And it was like I'm just saying, and there were so many good tunes out there at that point that just got overshadowed and overlooked. Now, Steve, when you listen to a favorite song, how do you feel? Even if it's like a song from 40 years ago, does it bring back cherished memories and just put you in a good mood? What do you think about when the music comes on?
Well, let's see. 40 years ago, that would be 1985, which 85 was a very good year for music.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, there are things I can be listening to a song. It also depends on what time of year that song came out. Like, um, one song that was real popular, like in early 85, like I think it was January or February. It was by Foreigners called "I Want to Know What Love Is,"
love.
and every time I hear that, it makes me think back that that was a very cold winter here. It like low mid 20s. Didn't snow, but it got very cold.
Right.
And then you have other songs that come out like in the summer of '85 when me and my mom and my dad used to like to go to the beach a lot. Um, so yeah, you are right. When you listen to a song, it takes you right back to a certain period. It can take you back to better times. And I'm not going to lie. I am sort of a softie. There's times that I'll hear a song, it takes me back and it makes me feel a little melancholy,
Yeah.
little bit emotional. I don't cry, but it kind of pulls on my my heartstrings a little bit. So it does make me so there's yay and nay, but
Right.
but don't get me wrong. When I think back and it makes me feel melancholy, that it's not in a sad way. It's like a good memory type
Right.
thing.
It touches any emotion. That's the power of music. But I was just thinking, that's why, like, I'm so glad you wanted to, like, bring up the topic of music. But then I'm thinking, like, with all the specifically crazy stuff going on in the news, I mean, huger than huge news in the last, few, a couple of weeks here. It's just like been outstanding. And it really, if you're under a lot of stress, I'm not a doctor, but I'm a common sense person. Listening to music is totally a great way for me anyway to
Hmm.
de-stress. And if you're going through a lot of stress, it may not change the situation you're in, but you might feel a little better about things. It might bring back a happy memory or whatever. So if you happen to be listening to this, we both of us highly encourage you to put on some music.
Yeah, I on my phone, and it's actually and don't get me wrong, I've got a decent vinyl collection that I've had for years. I've got a CD collection that I've collected since I was 12. Um, you know, but all of that music now, even though I have the CDs and I've still got the vinyl, the records, all of that music is basically at my fingertips now. You can go to Spotify, Deezer,
Yeah,
Pandora, any of those, music streaming sites and look it up, and it's all right there, most of it anyway. And if you can't get it there, revert back to the platform that you and I are using now to record this video, YouTube.
exactly.
Pretty much that when I originally started out YouTube, this is long before I became a creator of a channel creator. Um, that's all I ever used YouTube for, was to go on there and look up music, and I would post it. That's all I would do. Just post, post, post. That's all I would do. I'd be in music groups, post, post, post. And you know, and as time went by, I learned, oh, I can learn how to do this. I can learn how to do that. So I expanded out, started watching little interviews and little things like that. But no, but you have avenues of ways, coming back to the music, you have ways of being able to get music, whether it be on YouTube or the other music places to check it out. You've also got iHeart Radio. There's another I think you have something called Odyssey, Audacy. That's also radio stations you can check out from all over the place. Different type of genre of music, whatever you want to listen to. And iHeart has that same feature as well. So if you want to hear something, pretty much any type of music you want to hear is right at your fingertips now.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's basically my message. And thanks for having me on today.
Oh, you're welcome, and I'm glad that you could be here. Yeah, I like I said, it's not, don't get me wrong, I do like talking about the other stuff that I or we, normally talk about. But I wanted to try something different. It's not that I haven't done any music topic discussions before. I have. It's just been a while. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this as much as we did. But both you and I we have eclectic taste in our music. Not a fan of the newer. Um, to me,
No, I'm not.
the older music is always going to win.
Heck yeah.
Even though I grew up in the 1980s and a little bit in the 90s, I turned 18 in 92, and a little bit in the 90s, and music started to transition again in two different time frames. In 88, it started to transition when the hip hop music was coming in. And don't get me wrong, I do like hip hop. It depends on what it is, but I prefer it more on that side, that era. And then, of course, you know about the grunge rock coming in the latter part of 91, early 92. And I can only deal with the two that I mentioned. So, Yeah. Um, I'm glad everybody could be here. Jan, always nice as
Thanks
usual.
so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Sure. And again, you guys, thank you for being here. Hope you enjoy what we talked about. And I or we uh, will see you next time. It'll be great if you can like and subscribe, give a thumbs up on the video. And, if those of you that don't know, please, while you're at it, um, Jan also has a channel called Save Money and More with Jan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So go over and check out her channel. She's got a lot of good, helpful information with budgeting, saving money in the grocery store. She's got a nice mix of topics over there that she talks about. Well, anyway, glad you all could be here. I hope you all have a great whatever time of day it is, and I or we will see you back here next time. Bye.
Bye bye.